Have you ever? We will look to the other side of excessive generosity and we will understand how to find the golden middle. Together we will study 10 dangerous consequences of excessive kindness and 4 principles of Stoicism that will help us to find harmony. Therefore, if you have ever felt that your help is not valuable, this video is for you. First, excessive kindness can make you look weak. Stoicism teaches us inner strength and self-restraint. It teaches us to set boundaries and to be disciplined. But here is the catch. If you always help everyone, you can produce an incorrect impression. There is a certain difficulty in balancing between help and excessive kindness, which can lead to an incorrect perception. Imagine the situation. You become someone who deserves respect. Saying no to them is not just a refusal. It is an important statement of gratitude. It is an important statement of your significance. It is a sign of inner strength, not weakness. Thus, the next time you are tempted to say yes, when inside you want to say no, remember this. Stand on your own. This is a necessary statement of your strength and value. Second, unrealistic expectations can lead to disappointment. Here is the Stoic truth. Happiness should not depend on the actions of other people. When you give, it is better not to expect too much in return. Why? This will not let you be disappointed and will help to maintain emotional stability. But let's be realists. This is difficult. You show generosity in the depth of your soul, hoping that people will respond to you in reciprocity. You want them to see and appreciate what you do. But what if they don't do it? Here we are burning in our expectations. Think about it. You always take responsibility for yourself, make a debt and help. Naturally, you expect that others will do their part of the work, right? But when they don't do it, it hurts. As a result, you feel exhausted, irritated and disappointed. All people are different. Stoicism reminds us of the harsh truth. We cannot control the actions of others, only ours. It is difficult to give without expecting anything in return. But here is the thing. When you give without any obligations, you gain a certain freedom. You do it because you want to, not because you are waiting for a slap on the back. So next time, when you reach out for help, try to throw away these expectations. Do not wait for gratitude or response. The true value lies in the very act of giving help, not in what you get in return. Such a way of thinking will allow you to remain calm and collected, no matter what happens on your way. 3. Too much return attracts not those people. Here is a Stoic point of view. Fluids that you emit attract people of a similar type. When you are positive and balanced, you attract generous and real people. But if you constantly give without stopping, until you are exhausted, you know what? You begin to attract people in need. It is not those who give that raise the mood. They are more eager to take what they can get. Imagine that you are a person who never says no. You are always there, always ready to help. Sounds great, right? But soon you will notice that people around you do not want to help. They just take. Worse yet, you can even attract those who take advantage of your generosity. Opportunists. 4. Stoic decision. It is all about balance and knowledge of your boundaries. You need to be able to notice when you are overdoing it. Setting boundaries is the key. When you do this, you save your energy and attract the right type of people. Those who value what you offer and are ready to give. Think of it as a street with two-way traffic. You want to be close to people who respect you and what you bring with you. To do this, you need to respect your own boundaries. Give, but do not allow it to exhaust you. This is how you will build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection, and not just on one-way return. This is the way of Stoic. Balanced, respectful and real. 4. Stoic decision. 4. Losing yourself for the sake of others. Stoic wisdom tells us that you need to live with wisdom and kindness. This means knowing when you need to put yourself in the first place. When you are constantly busy with other people's problems, you are possibly avoiding your own inner struggle. Constantly serving others, you lose your connection with yourself, your own voice is lost in the noise of other people's demands. And then, when you finally have a quiet moment, all the fear and pain from which you ran come back. Stoics teach us that caring about your own needs is not selfishness, but a necessity. It is about preserving our essence, establishing boundaries and following your own path. This is not just good for us, it is the key to a genuine life. Therefore, the next time you feel a desire to change, to dig into others' problems, stop for a second. Meet these feelings face to face. Be true to what you really need and what you want. Learn to say no when you need it. You will see that respecting your own boundaries, you will be in a much better position to help others in a healthy and balanced way. 5. The trap of constant giving. 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 Stoic philosophy values moderation, especially when it comes to giving back. Stoic philosophy values moderation, especially when it comes to giving back. It is like controlling a ship at sea with endless demands. When you give too much and too often, people begin to expect this. They are used to the fact that you always take a step forward. At first, it may seem pleasant, but it is a sluggish path. Here's the point. People naturally tend to something that is easy. People naturally tend to something that is easy. If you always take a step forward, responsibility and solve problems, you, in fact, allow others to stay in their comfort zone. They do not feel the need to take a step forward or face difficulties, because they know that you can handle it. But this affects not only them, but also you. As a result, you are carrying a load that does not belong to you, and this can exhaust your energy and emotional shape. Stoicism teaches us to find the balance, give away, but not so much of it, to lose yourself in the process. When you start setting boundaries and being a bit slow, something interesting happens. People begin to figure out that they cannot always control and rely on you. They begin to take responsibility for their own things, as good both for them and you. A flat tien ne slepet ke lucameli zernosti, a prosto de la globalnoi bezapa, snosti provid up knots. A powerful quote by Seneca perfectly reflects this idea. True generosity is to give what is needed, and not just what is asked. This quote reminds us that sometimes the greatest gift that we can make is not to fulfill any request, but to give the opportunity to others to realize their own needs. It is in this balance that we find the essence of true generosity, generosity that enriches all participants, not depleting anyone. Practicing balanced generosity, you maintain control over your life and do not fall into the cycle of constant giving. Remember that you don't just need to be generous, but to be generous with your mind. This is how you help others without losing yourself, and this is the real art of giving. 6th, excessive kindness can be a gift. It is needed to not cause suspicion. Stoicism is taught to live in accordance with our values, regardless of the opinions of others. The goal is to follow your principles, forming an honest and stable reputation. However, in a world where genuine kindness is rarely found, excessive kindness can, ironically, cause bewilderment. People may start to question your motives. They ask themselves why this person is so generous, what it is for them. The point is not in this, that you must have come across a group of cynical people. Often this is just a realistic reaction. People are used to seeing kindness with a subtext. Therefore, when someone appears who strives to give everything and help, it may seem suspicious. In many cases, they faced people who seemed kind, but had hidden beneficial goals. This experience makes them be careful and even skeptical about the true acts of kindness. This does not mean that you must moderate your generosity. Rather, it is about finding a balance. Be kind, but transparent. Let your deeds speak of your honesty. Remember that it is not about seeking compensation. It is about being faithful to your values. Over time, consistent and balanced kindness can help you achieve your goals. It is important that you do not destroy the walls of suspicion by showing the sincerity of your intentions. This is exactly what Stoicism is for. It is a virtue that withstands trials with time and skepticism. 7. The risk of falling into dependence. Stoicism warns us of the danger of losing balance in life, especially when it comes to giving back. It's all about moderation and self-control. When you give too much, when you are always the one on whom others rely, you are the one who will lose the balance. When you give too much, when you are always the one on whom others rely, you are the one who will lose the balance. When you give too much, when you are always the one on whom others rely, you are the one who lose the balance. When you give too much, when you are always the one on whom others rely, it can lead to severe consequences. You can start to look for ways to cope with stress and emotional exhaustion. This is where the risk of being dependent is hidden. You may find that you overeat, drink too much, or perhaps play too much. Whatever you like, only to fill the emptiness that if a friend or family member expresses concern about your habits, it is worth paying attention to this. We often fall into denial when we encounter the possibility of addiction. It is easier to get rid of their concern than to admit the problem. But these remarks usually come from the place of care and love. Accepting such a feedback is a step towards self-analysis and growth. It is important to remember that those who care about us do not try to criticize or condemn. They care about our well-being. A serious attitude to their concerns is a way of respecting yourself and your way to a balanced life. This is a practice of stoicism in real life, using moderation and self-control to avoid harmful behavior that can harm our health and happiness. In the end, the recognition and elimination of these habits is a sign of strength. This is a sign of adherence to one's own well-being, and a desire to live in accordance with the Stoic principles of balance and self-analysis. 8. Overcoming problems related to unbalanced relationships. Imagine that you are a person who is supposed to do everything when you find yourself in a difficult situation. It's nice to feel needed, isn't it? But then you start to notice that you are not on the list of those who are invited to dinner on weekends or to random parties. You help them in difficult times, but when it comes to sharing laughter and good memories, you stay away. As if you are good enough to reach out for help, but not share a smile. This awareness can hurt. You are not just an assistant, you are a person who also strives for fun and communication. This is a common scenario. People often divide others into categories based on what they bring to the table. If you always help, it becomes your label. And what's the result? You miss the opportunity to become a friend, equal to yourself. Such a situation is not just unfair, it is an alarming signal. You start to think, do they value me for who I am or only for what I can do for others? Now let's look at the Stoic principles of balance. Stoicism is not the absence of emotions, but the understanding of human nature and wise behavior. This situation is a chance to review your relationships. This is a test of your ability to distinguish who values you as a person, and who sees you as a means of achieving a goal. This is difficult, but important. You learn to determine true friendship and distance yourself from one-sided relations. In addition, Stoicism urges us to be more clear and more open-minded. And this is a good sign, as it is a sign of an understanding of the nature of the person. To think about our role in this dynamic. Do we support this model of behavior? Always say yes. Do we neglect the expression of our own needs and desires in friendly relationships? We are talking about finding a balance between helping others and being faithful to yourself. By setting boundaries and expressing our own needs, we invite more authentic connections into our lives. We begin to attract people who value us for our entire essence, and not only for our willingness to help. In the end, overcoming these buts is self-respect and mutual respect. We are talking about spending our time and energy on people who value us completely and completely. This approach not only corresponds to the Stoic principle, but also leads to more full-fledged and balanced relationships. 9. Lack of common sense and rational boundaries with close people. Stoic wisdom teaches us to establish reasonable boundaries in all spheres of life, including in relationships with close people. As paradoxical as it may seem, it is often harder for relatives and friends to say the firm no. We are afraid to offend a dear person or to seem cruel. In addition, these relationships are based on trust and care, aren't they? But this is what Stoicism says. True care. This is not limitless self-reliance, but the ability to value your strength and resources. Sometimes our loved ones can unconsciously perceive our willingness to help as a duty. They get used to the fact that we are always there for them. And now, one day, you realize that your own needs have been moved to the background. As Seneca said, help to friends must have its limits, otherwise we ourselves will need friends. The key point is not to fall into extremes. It is not about complete refusal of help. It is about learning to love, but to firmly define your limits. For example, if a friend asks you to lend a large amount of money, you can promise a smaller, but stronger one for you. Or if a relative wants you to help with repairs for the whole week, explain what you can give this weekend. The main thing is to convey your position calmly and with respect. You don't need to feel guilty or ashamed. You just need to know that you are not alone. In the end, isn't it better to help a little less, but from a pure heart, than from a feeling of debt and resentment? As Mark Aurelius said, It is better to refuse when you can give than to give and then regret and hate. Practice this skill gradually. Start with refusals in small things or urgent requests. Over time, you will feel more confident to define the limits in serious issues. The main thing is to go from the heart and remember that taking care of yourself is also a manifestation of love only for yourself. Your loved ones may first be offended or not understand you. But if these relationships are really strong, they will accept your right to say no. And then, instead of unhealthy dependence, you will find equal, mature relationships where you value and respect each other's needs. This is the manifestation of true historical wisdom in interpersonal relationships. 10. Underestimating personal time. One of the greatest gifts given to us by life is time. However, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life and the constant desire to help others, we often miss the value of this priceless resource. Stoic philosophy includes the teaching of a careful attitude to time and its reasonable use. In our time of constant running, it is easy to succumb to the trap of endless obligations. We respond to every request, agree to unnecessary meetings, and as a result, we discover that real life passes by us. As Seneca said, the greatest waste in life is the loss of time. Before agreeing to the next request or obligation, ask yourself the following question. Is this worth my time and attention? Learn to value your hours and minutes in the same way you value money. Wasted time cannot be returned. Refuse to spend it on secondary matters in favor of what really matters in your life. Life is short, and no one knows how much time we have spent. Therefore, value every day and hour. Fill them with a deep meaning, do not waste them in vain. Then you can say, together with Seneca, I have not lost a single day. This is the true Stoic approach to time as to the greatest gift of life. And now let's consider the methods that allow you not to let others use you. Strategy 1. To say no to the possession of art for a balanced life. In the philosophy of the Stoics, time and energy are considered as one of the most valuable resources. They act for conscious and balanced distribution of these resources. It is here that the power of no comes into play. To say no is not just a refusal, it is a declaration of self-respect and recognition of one's own limits. It is an understanding that not every request or demand deserves your yes. Many of us are used to perceive no as a negative response, a sign of indisputability or even rudeness. However, the real negative lies in the fact that we too much burden ourselves and agree on what leaves us suppressed or offended. To say no is not pessimism, it is protection of your well-being and concentration of your efforts where they are most important. Start from the practice of saying no in situations that do not require much effort. Stand in front of a mirror and practice saying no firmly and at the same time politely. Understand that every time you say no, you are not just refusing a request, you are making a choice how to spend your life. You are defending your priorities, it is self-preservation. Remember that the ability to say no is a skill that needs to be developed. At first it may seem uncomfortable, but with practice it will become a powerful tool to maintain balance in your life. And having mastered art to say no, you return yourself freedom and protect yourself from excessive pressure or exploitation. This is a fundamental step to life and it is a very important step in your life. The second strategy is to focus on your emotions. In Stoicism, self-analysis is a cornerstone. It is about understanding your emotions and reactions, which is very important to maintain a balanced life. This strategy is about listening to your feelings that tell you if you give too much. Stoics did not suppress emotions, they gave you an understanding. Start by observing what you feel when you help others. Ideally, generosity should bring a feeling of satisfaction and joy. This feeling is similar to walking in the clouds, the lightness that arises in sincere altruism. But if, helping, you feel exhausted, offended or exploited, this feeling is your inner compass. They tell you when it is time to reconsider your boundaries. If you constantly experience negative emotions after helping someone, this is a sign that the act of giving is more valuable to you than it should be. To implement this strategy, create moments of reflection after helping someone. Do I feel that I am valued or used? This self-analysis is not related to feeling of guilt or condemnation. It is an honest self-assessment. Recognition and respect of your feelings is not egoism. It is a form of self-care. Listening to your emotions, you can make adjustments to your habits of giving money. This can mean establishing restrictions, more frequent rejections or a more thorough choice of actions. A Stoic approach to self-analysis will help you find a balance between helping others and caring about yourself. Strategy number 3. Asterisk of energetic vampires. In Stoicism, reasonableness and self-discipline are key virtues, especially when it comes who exhausts your energy, the so-called energetic vampires. To relationships. This strategy implies these are people, after communication with which you constantly feel exhausted, overloaded and emotionally exhausted. Energetic vampires are often characterized by endless complaints, pessimism and a tendency to exaggerate problems. It seems that they thrive on drama and negativity, rarely looking for a solution or positive results. Their presence can significantly exhaust your mental and emotional reserves. The Stoic approach to such relationships is not in harshness, but in wise penetration. It assumes the recognition that some people, no matter how hard you try to help them, may not change or win from your support. They are not necessarily bad people, but their influence on your well-being can be extremely negative. It is important to establish with such people that you do not want to establish hard borders. If after communicating with someone you constantly feel worse, it is a sign that you need to reconsider your relationship. Thank you. This does not mean that you need to abruptly cut off communication with a person or become indifferent to their problems. On the contrary, you need to limit the impact of their negativity and protect your own emotional health. In practice, this can mean establishing restrictions on the time that you spend with them, on the kind of support that you offer, or even a refusal of relations, if necessary. Remember that Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control other people, but only our own reactions to them. Choosing where and with whom to invest your energy, you manifest Stoic wisdom and take care of yourself. Strategy number 4. Respect for your space and time. In Stoicism, the principles of self-discipline and self-respect are of primary importance. This strategy is based on the fact that it is important to allocate time and space. It is about allocating time for activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Thank you. Whether it is yoga, drawing, or just a cup of tea with music, these moments are vital for your well-being. Consider this time of self-care as a meeting with yourself, which is as important as any other obligation in your schedule. Make it a priority to effectively fulfill your obligations so that you can devote time to these rejuvenating activities. It is very important to take this practice seriously, planning it regularly, whether daily or weekly. And now the most important thing. If someone asks you for help at the appointed time of self-care, remember your obligations to yourself. It is normal to say no. This is not about you not wanting to cooperate or not caring about yourself. This is about respect for your own needs. You can be polite, but firm, explaining that you have obligations to yourself. If you want to go to a meeting, offer help at another time, but let us understand that your readiness has its limits. Remember that, according to the Stoic teaching, your time and space are not just valuable. These are the unquestionable aspects of your life that deserve respect. Observing these personal boundaries, you are not the only one who needs help. You do not only care about yourself, but also show others how to treat you with the same respect. This approach will help you maintain a healthy balance between helping others and caring about your own needs. In conclusion, it should be said that the Stoic wisdom teaches us that balance is key in all aspects of life, and generosity is not an exception. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. If we give too little, we can seem selfish and stingy. The ideal approach lies in the gray zones, those nuances where we find the right balance between helping others and caring for ourselves. Always remember, when you are not sure whether to give or not, the word no can become your main ally. If you found benefit in our video, Please, like, subscribe to our channel and leave a comment. May your path be stoic and full of wisdom. See you.